guys? Welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. And what a final we had! I mean, you had it all: hat trick in the World Cup final, Messi finally lifting the trophy for Argentina. Um, and yeah, I mean, amazing final to finish off. Adu, I mean, what's your quick reaction to the World Cup final itself before we get into the nitty gritty?
Yes, share your sentiments. Definitely the most exciting final in terms
Hands
of
down, hands
international
down.
I've watched, and yeah, it had everything, even up to the penalties. Both teams
Yeah,
could have won it in the last minute. There was no holding on. It's like both teams tried to win it in penalties, and were trying their best to do everything to win it in normal time and extra time. But yeah, excellent final. Um, in sync with the tournament as a whole, and just really a credit to both teams.
Mm,
Uh, really intriguing final.
yeah.
Ultimately, for me, the better team came out on top.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Argentina, well, today they were sensational, and I think they saved their best game till like right there at the moment that it mattered for them. Because if you look at most of the other teams, they had probably their best performances throughout the knockout or group stages, and Argentina kind of hit that form right at the end when it mattered.
Definitely, I mean, that was a one-sided final for 80 minutes,
Yeah.
and you know, you could see the frustration of Deschamps. You could see, uh, how under par the players were, nervous the French players were. You could probably see a lot of them looked tired. Maybe the virus that went through the week had affected
Mm,
them. Um, yeah, and in a way, you have to give credit that they still found a way to take it to penalties.
I mean,
So,
how much credit do you have to give Deschamps? Because obviously he made a lot of changes, brave moves, and it paid off for him because obviously they got back into the game.
for me, all the credit goes to Deschamps because you can see a lot of that team hasn't got the experienced winners that previous team has had. The problem it doesn't have those characters, doesn't have
No,
those
no.
leaders as much on the pitch. So the frustration he was showing on the sideline, he was visibly telling players off, angry with them. That's the winning mentality coming through. Even during the game, he was trying to transmit that mentality, and you know the you know I wish Gareth Southgate take something from that final. He took Giroud, who was absolutely useless. I mean, he was getting beaten to every header
Mm,
by Romero and Otamendi when he's got size and strength on him. Obviously, he was ill and or injured, so it was 50-50 for the game anyway. And taking off Usman Dembele, where the occasion was just overrode him. I mean, that's quite a few big games I've seen now where the occasion is too big for Usman Dembele. He couldn't do sort of first touch out. He couldn't do anything right.
mm.
He
But I
he
mean,
was the
to
worst player on the
even
pitch.
and you like you said, you have to give credit to Deschamps. He saw that and he wasn't afraid to wait until half time. He made the changes.
Yeah, he made the changes, and it was a. It's not like he brought Kingsley Coman on.
No, no.
He brought
Kulemani.
um was
Kulemani,
it
I think.
Moani? Is it Moani?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think it's Suleimani. I was like, hey, you got
No, no,
confused there.
no.
Moani, and yeah, and he brought the aggression that was needed. I mean, the amount of balls he won, fouls he done, tackle, how physical he got. Suddenly, the tempo that Argentina were able to play the whole game got slightly disrupted.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players that played subpar. I was shocked Rabia stayed on the pitch as long as he did, but they done well just to find a way of just lumping it and getting it up to the strikers and then making something happen. And
Yeah.
And invariably, if you have Mbappe on that team, something's always going to happen.
There's always a chance. That's the moment I was waiting. But one thing you also got to give credit to the other side. I mean, Scaloni he made a change in terms of bringing in Di Maria back into the team, and that first 45 minutes he was just destroying Kunde.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the impact of Di Maria was the single most impactful player on the match. I mean, he while he was on the pitch, he completely dominated the game more than anyone. And when the strangest thing is when you think about it, you just think it's not rocket science. They're
Yeah,
playing centre back and right back the whole tournament, and just put an out and out winger on him.
yeah,
And Kunde just looked all at sea. The whole game, he just looked all at sea. And, yeah, I mean, this Argentina team is probably the most fluid team in terms of their formation. Quite a lot of their matches I've struggled to figure out their formation because it's so fluid. Some games it looks like they're playing a diamond midfield.
yeah,
Some games it looks like McAllister's playing on the left. Then he pops up in the 10. It's such a fluid system. Sometimes you'll see Rodrigo de Paul sometimes at the base of the CDM role. Then he's playing the right winger. So they've obviously got a system that they understand where it's a fluid system,
yeah.
and because of that, I think that's what's given them the edge,
Mm,
because it was hard to figure out exactly what their set formation was. Obviously, you can see the changes as soon as on the ball, off the ball, in the sense that Alvarez, every time they lost the ball, Alvarez would come into the 10 and Messi would be just idle on his own. And then
yeah.
soon as on the ball, Alvarez is going up top and Messi's dropping in.
Listen,
But
I was still surprised today. Messi put in some tackles. When he was 3-2, he was
he's been
crying.
doing that the whole tournament. And this is the thing. Finally, he's got a manager and a team that has made him feel truly comfortable. I was reading in the lead up to the week some reports of journalists who are close to Messi, and they're saying how he's always felt like he's had to conform.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, playing in Barcelona, growing up in Catalonia, that mentality, which is not to say anything, to be, super polite and civilized and accepting. And so the Argentinian in him was taken out of him because of the way he was expected to behave.
yeah,
And this is the first time he's got a manager that has made everything about him, made the players, you know, every single thing about this Argentina team is about making Messi feel comfortable. And it's brought out the child Messi, which was a bit aggressive, was a bit of a loudmouth, was a bit, cocky
cheeky.
at times.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's like what we've seen in this tournament. We've seen some of his
mm,
interviews, the way he's calling out Van Gaal and Weghorst, and that is Messi when he was a child before he went to Barcelona. So now he's in the environment for the first time in the last 18 months with this, Scaloni in charge, where he's actually can express himself without worrying or trying to conform, and it's brought that side out of him where that edge has come out. There's one where, and I think the commentator said it at some point. It's like referees are afraid to give Messi a yellow card.
yeah, yeah. I remember him saying that. Yeah, because
But
obviously
the thing was,
he pulled one of the players down, French players down. He didn't even
there
get a
was
booking.
one where Theo Hernandez, the ball comes out, he goes and heads it, and Messi just literally torpedoes himself into Hernandez, and the referee gives the foul to Messi. And it's like,
I know
what
you
on
do.
earth? But this is what Messi has done, and he's shown that, come on, if there's a defensive midfielder
Yeah, his
pulling
game.
in tackles like that, late tackles, playing dirty, would be raving about it. You know, he's brought that intensity, that hard edge, might I say, that winning mentality. Um, he's shown that form, that heart,
Mm.
that passion that's kind of been lacking for a few years, and it's been good to see.
I mean, I do. Just to say on that, I mean, he's the I think first player now to score in all of the knockout phases games. So that's another record for him to on top to add on. And it's the first time he actually even scored in the knockout stage. So to add on, what a moment to do it, and obviously to carry your team to final and go and finally win it.
Yeah, I mean, there won't be an asterisk to it, but it is just to put a bit of negative on it. It is really easy when you keep getting soft penalties. You get it? Like I can't. I think every single penalty Argentina have had is literally question. I can't remember any of them feeling like they're clear cut.
Mm,
Every single one of them has felt super soft. But he's put them away. It's just not
yeah, yeah.
other than the first one I think he missed in the group stages. He's putting them away, but that's another stat worth checking out is has a team ever had as many penalties in a World
Penalties, yeah.
Cup
That's a good
tournament?
shot.
It
Good
felt like
show.
every first goal was always a penalty to Argentina for something soft.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but after that miss, I mean, the rest of these penalties he's taken have been just oozed class.
It's just
And
been brilliant.
the main thing is the real Messi turned up for this tournament, which is good to see. Yeah, in the as in the knockout stages, he was getting a lot of praise, but I wasn't really convinced by his performances. But then at least he backed up the stats, the assists and the goals with performances
And
because
at key moments of the games, he was doing it as well.
yeah,
So
and in
it's not
Mexico, yeah, he was doing
exactly.
moments, but then it felt like semi-final, final. He really took over those games. He
Yeah,
really showed.
yeah.
It's the old Messi where he wants to really show he's a different level, a different gear to everyone. And yeah, I mean,
He was
a
involved.
lot
He
of
was
people
involved
have
in
put,
all three goals. He was involved in all three goals.
yeah, and the other chances that
Yeah, they
there's Messi
created.
is integral in it, and so many players have or pundits have put the Croatian defender Guardiola as one of their players for the tournament, but the way Messi ran rings around him, you know,
But he is one for the future, though, isn't he? He's only 20, so this is only going to be experience for Gavido.
yeah, I don't know. I haven't been like as
Blown
like
away.
he's been solid. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been solid, but like the way he's been rated, like I'm not sure. I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
his performances have been that. It's been stellar, solid, but standout. I don't know. I think maybe there's one game, a lot of headers he won, but other than
Well,
that,
I
I
mean,
don't
let's
stand
let,
out.
let's move on from that because I got a big question for you. So I mean, a lot of people asking the question or saying he is the greatest of all time now because obviously he's got the World Cup now. What's it for you? What do you think?
Um, Greatest of this generation, I would say, it clearly puts him ahead of.
No, greatest ever.
Yeah, so I'm saying it's the greatest of this generation. That's my answer. So,
Okay.
greatest of this generation, for me, Maradona is the greatest ever. Um, you know, and I can't, it's a generation thing. I can't say much about Pele, but I can about Maradona, and I think Maradona was a leader. He carried a team. This
What's the
Argentina
difference between
team,
the two? Because obviously, for me personally, I haven't seen Maradona, so I've seen clips, but there's so much you can make from clips, right?
watch a few documentaries and then you'll see. Just watch a few documentaries and you'll notice the difference. Um, for me, Maradona built the teams that won championships. He was the de facto leader. He built those teams.
Mm.
He carried them on his shoulders, and he was everything in those teams. Uh, there were teams that weren't ready made that
But I mean, you
were
can use
never
Napoli as
supposed
an
to win.
example, isn't it? Napoli as an
Yeah,
example when he
yeah,
went to
they
Italy.
were never supposed to win,
Yeah.
and so he's always overachieved. And if you see the tackles and the type of thing that was going on in those days, I mean, people doing lunges onto his waist and everything.
Yeah.
He always got up to and past it. So for me, he's the greatest just because of his leadership and how much he carried the whole nation and those clubs. With Messi, his achievements are unbelievable, but he has had teams built
Great
for
teams
him.
around him.
It's
Yeah.
not him, and yeah, he's kind of slayed some of those criticisms with this Argentina win because uh, he has stepped up and performed and carried the team in. You can't really say that when it comes to this World Cup, Messi has carried Argentina, but it's still a team that's completely built around him and for him. Every single player is there to serve Messi, uh, even outside of the pitch,
Yeah.
and to make him feel comfortable. And Maradona earned that. It wasn't built for him, So it's just different. But in this generation, I think the argument I've always said, Messi is the most skillful and technically the best player ever,
Gifted. Yeah. Mm.
and Ronaldo in terms of work ethic, But I think this does take him on a clear level beyond Ronaldo, and I'm glad he's actually performed because part of the criticism I have for Messi is because he's won stuff and accolades, and he has been nothing but average.
Mm.
Especially in recent years, he's
Well, I
won
mean, I
Ballon
think you're talking
d'Ors
about even the
and
2014 one where he wasn't
yeah,
great, but he won the player of the tournament,
best
wasn't it?
player tournament, he won the Ballon d'Or that year. I think,
Yeah.
So I think some of the criticism from me is based around that. So I'm glad he's actually come out of the shadow and performed and shown and reminded everyone what an amazing player he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, for me personally, that kind of tips here really because obviously, finally he's proven it at the greatest stage there is, and he went there and he performed, and obviously now he's obviously got the golden ball and the World Cup trophy to show for it as well. Pretty much winning every single trophy there is to win. I don't think he's missed anything. So for me, obviously, I haven't seen Maradona. I can't make much of it. For me, is the best player ever. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's an argument you can't
Yeah.
ever confidently win because then it's totally different generations, totally
Mm.
different generations.
But I do one thing I want to bring on, obviously, because amazing final, everything, but you got on the other side, you got a goat coming for the future in the World Cup final, scoring a hat trick, but still being in the losing side, Mbappe.
Yeah, and just shows his mentality, his phenomenal ability. At the end of the day, I think one of the pundits alluded to it that everyone takes him as this, speed merchant, and most of his goals are like speed merchants. But if you look at a lot of his goals, they are all intricate, close control,
Well, look
tight
at look at his
space
second goal.
finishes.
Look at his
Yeah.
second goal.
So it just shows the development that he's had over the last few years, and there's so much of Neymar and Messi that you see in him now that he never had before. Little
Mm.
things he does, the way, the weight of his passing and the way he finishes, and the couple of the. But yeah, what a phenomenal player. And the thing I like most is he loves the stage. I mean,
Yeah.
you tell me anyone at that age, and he literally came to get crushed the past party, and let's be honest, he actually did get crashed at the party.
Yeah.
Actually get crashed Messi's party because we're still talking about Mbappe too. Like you can't talk about that final and
Anyone that
just
talks
talk
about,
about
yeah,
Messi.
anyone talks about this final and doesn't mention Mbappe, it's not happening.
You can't though. And
You can't,
normally
yeah,
we should be serenading Messi with everything and only speaking of him. But you
yeah,
can't
you
because
can't.
this
Guy
young
scored a hat trick.
superstar.
Guy scored a hat trick in the World Cup final.
But he took it. He took it to the legend. He took it. The legend is performing. They're dominating the game, and this guy stays poised.
I think 2 World Cup in a row now, top scorer.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, he wants that, and that's the thing I like about it. The occasions, the desire does not phase him. He
I
rises
love
to
his
it.
I love his composure. Even in the he loves that pressure moment. You can see it's like he's living for that moment. He wants that moment, to show. And that's a lot that what Harry Kane can learn from, because this guy took 3 penalties today and scored all three.
Yeah, and the thing is, it doesn't feel like this France team is Mbappe's team. I mean, yeah, they play in a way where they bring out his qualities, but when you look at that squad, it still feels like it's Griezmann's squad. It's Lloris's team. It's
Yeah,
these other guys are still the leaders of that team. It's not. It's not what Messi has right now.
no,
And you
no.
just think those guys are leaving now, and you got all these young stars coming, and they are all like, it's going to become Mbappe's team.
I think he's 23. He's still got three probably World Cups to it.
Thing is,
He's
the
on
way
he's
the
on
way
he's on
he
12
is,
he's on 12 goals. He's on 12 goals already. He's gonna smash Miroslav Klose probably.
I thought, yeah, well, Messi scored what 15 or something
Messi's got
uh,
13. He's only one behind Messi.
already. Yeah, so but that's the thing you got to like about it. He wants that stage. He wants those figures, those numbers. And yeah, he's unlucky because he just needed a couple of guys. It always felt like he just needed a couple of guys to step up, and just so many of the French teams were just substandard, subpar.
Choked today, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of players
Bit of
choked.
a I felt like there was a bit of a choking at the beginning.
They were
That's what
nervous. A lot of players were nervous.
that's what it felt like, because up until about what 70th minute, I don't know. I was just so disappointed that they didn't really feel like a fight from them.
when that first stuff was happening, only thing that was going to my mind at that time was you couldn't get more of a contrast between the two teams.
Yeah,
Forget the performance, put all that aside. You have a build up where Argentina and everything is about Messi. Everything is about the togetherness, the Lionel Scaloni, every talk he's saying, it's winning mentality, you know, it's unity, it's one message, it's clear, you see it from every player.
mm.
And then you see the build up for France, the players on the pitch for France, and it's the old France that came out, the ugly side of France came out, and the credit always goes to Deschamps of how he's managed to galvanize and unite this team. But guess what? This is his last game.
Yeah,
He hasn't got a contract, and guess what? The cracks eventually came out. Benzema not coming back. Pogba is not all wanting to turn up. All these other distractions affected the team. And you
mm.
can see it. And you can see it on the pitch. You can see that unity was in there, that cohesion was in there. And that's why Deschamps was so frustrated and angry, is because players lost their focus, lost their commitment, lost their unity to play together as a team. And Deschamps kept his winning mentality. And that's why I give credit to Deschamps for managing to turn that game into something
Yeah,
remotely exciting for the rest of us, to the point where, let's be honest, the first 8 minutes is a shout for one of the most boringest one-sided
yeah.
finals ever. But
Agree.
that last 40 minutes, 10 minutes of normal time,
And
30
extra
minutes
time.
was so
Listen,
exhilarating.
at the 120th minute, you could have still said France could have won it because Koulibaly had the one and Martinez saves it. Then it goes to the other end and you got Martinez with every end.
And
I was like,
every time Martinez does like, all I thought about
you
was,
think of me.
all I thought was like, the kiss and you killed him.
I killed him.
You killed
I
him with
killed
the
him.
prediction. You killed him.
I killed
But,
him. I killed him.
but what about? I mean, there's so much happened. If we do a breakdown of that game, so much happened in that game. Think about it. For me, coach's standpoint, I was fascinated by the game because one, Argentina, their system, the fluidness of it. It's a semi um 4-2-2-2 with Di Maria as the thingy
The way,
striker,
yeah. Mm.
just a dedicated left-sided striker, and Alvarez with both
Everywhere else.
McAllister
Yeah.
and Messi playing as 10. That's on the ball, and then off the ball, it's suddenly this you know a
I mean,
strange.
we'll do a video. We'll do a tactics on video for this because I think it's a fascinating thing to look into because obviously you got the fluidity of one side and then we can look into how Didier Deschamps really changed it and he kind of put on
But
four
the thing
wingers.
is, I actually don't think France did. France, Deschamps wasn't the reason why France got back into the game, in my opinion.
Mm.
Scanoli was the reason why. Because
Well, with the Acuna sign substitution.
not just that, he also changed and moved Rodrigo de Paul to the right, and he pushed McAllister as the second midfielder, and they lost control of the game then. So moving De Paul, because what De Paul was doing was he was specifically shielding the space that Mbappe would pick the ball up in,
Mm.
and then moving him out as the right winger really messed up their balance, and they lost that guy who was kind of always covering that slot. So
Yeah.
part of France getting those goals was actually more down to the changes Argentina made and poor tactical decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too sure about that substitution he made of bringing Acuna on. I
Oh my!
personally thought at the beginning
Can you?
I thought he was gonna go for a back five, but then I was like,
Are
huh?
you ever gonna see a sub, yeah, World Cup final, yeah, come on and actually play more tired than the guy before?
Yo, that's
Like
peak.
I could not believe Acuna looked more out of breath and tired than Di Maria when he went off.
Listen,
And I was like, what?
it's just
This
like
guy's
that.
done
He just
no
looks tired.
impact on the game.
He looks
He's
tired.
had no impact on the game. Zero impact.
Oh.
Yeah, they got overrun. The chances come from those side. That side that Acuna came on.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the awards for I mean Golden Ball, Golden Boot, obviously decided by the top, Mbappe winning it. Do you agree with all of them, or is there any question marks to you? So you got the Golden Ball, Messi, Golden Boot, Mbappe. That's obviously fixed. And then you got goalkeeper, Golden Glove is
Yeah.
Martinez.
I mean,
and then you've got Enzo as the young player of the tournament.
That one did surprise me because he didn't start many games.
No,
at the beginning.
at the beginning, yeah.
And
I thought Julian Alvarez was in there with a shout for young player of the tournament.
He's had moments as well. Yeah, that one surprised me because I felt I've been impressed by Chouameni in this tournament. I thought he stood out. Obviously, probably counted against him is Bellingham. I mean,
yeah,
of all the young players, he's excited me.
Agreed. I think
I
up
don't
until
know
the
if
moment,
that
up until the moment he was the best. I think.
I don't know how old Unahi is and whether he would have fallen into that category, but well, he's a player that excited me when I watched him.
I reckon. Yeah, I reckon if Bellingham got to the final, he'd have won that trophy.
Enzo Fernandez, he was good. He showed quality, but he didn't excite me. He never really stood out. Everything he did, he looked quality and classy. But was there anything more than what De Paul was doing or McAllister? If anything, McAllister outshone him in the tournament, in most of the games. So I don't know about that one. I wasn't sure I think they just
Well,
gave it. I think they gave it to him because he's there. He's already there in the final.
I mean, he adds a few more pounds on for him because obviously Liverpool are interested, so that adds a few more bonus pounds with transfer fee.
Yeah, a lot of players are interested in him. I mean, that's natural, and he's proven he's got quality to dictate a game, control a game.
Yeah. Mm. Let's move on to something a bit more nearer home. Southgate deciding to stay on until European Championship. What did you make of that? Surprised by the decision?
No, I wasn't surprised at all. Only thing that surprised me was how soon he did it. I was expecting him to take until the new year before he done
Yeah,
it.
he did say January, but then obviously he decided to come out with this straight away.
Yeah, there isn't really a market for Southgate as much as he's doing good and has a lot of credit for what he's done with England. When it comes to the top six teams, you have to have a proven record, and
Mm.
you see Chelsea just going with Graham Potter, and he has doing next year with Newcastle. The top four look like they're settled with their managers. The top five, Conte, he ain't gonna replace Conte. He ain't gonna replace Arteta. He ain't gonna replace Ten Hag. He ain't gonna replace Pep.
No,
So
anybody. I don't think
yeah,
anybody.
so
Yeah.
I don't think there was a market for him to leave this job that would actually, he'll have something chasing him or something to go to.
But
So
is
it
this
made
good?
sense.
Is this good news for England though? Is the question.
Um, I think this will be his toughest period because it does feel like it's getting stale under him. Um, and the quarterfinals shows that. I mean, in terms of performance, yeah, I really thought England deserved to go through, were the better team, but the fundamental things that made him lose the final against Italy are still there.
Yeah.
You
Ju-
know,
ju-
and at the end of the day, we know what the top managers like. We see them, we hear them, we know the intensity, the mentality they have, and Gareth Southgate doesn't have that. At the end of
Mm.
the day, he still is more about loyalty to players than he is about winning. Loyalty to players comes before winning, before form, before, and when it comes down to the cracks, you look at the two managers in the final today. He brought Di Maria in,
Yeah.
even though they won the semi-final 3-0.
With that, yeah. Mm.
There's no fear of changing his lineup, changing the personnel. They played amazing against Croatia. 3-0
Yeah.
comfortable
Most
win.
people would stick with the same lineup because considering how
He
they
wasn't
performed, right?
afraid. He
Yeah.
was not afraid. Enzo Fernandez hadn't started the game for Argentina before the World Cup.
Yeah.
The biggest thing Lionel did, the manager did for me, was when he brought McAllister into the team, was
Yeah.
he's the guy, that one change, that extra playmaker, because he was plugging and adjusting to whatever gaps came up, wherever it was needed. And he brought
Mm.
that Premiership intensity in terms of headering, physicality, using his body that was missing. And only when he came into did Argentina start to click. But the manager made those calls. He did not
Yeah. Yeah.
stay with
Mm.
the Acuñas and the guys who got him there.
But every time there was a problem, he found a solution to it, and he
And
made the right
you look
decision
at
every time.
exactly, and you look at Deschamps, the same thing.
Mm.
He did not stick to players. When players were out, he trusted other players to come in. Benzema gets injured, back to Giroud. Everywhere you look, Pogba out, Rabiot back in.
Rabiot in, yeah. Tushimane in, yeah.
He's trusting players. He's giving them the confidence. He's
Well,
bringing players
even
to
look
stop
at
the
look
goal.
at Griezmann's change of position as well to adapt him how he done it.
And then look, they would have got thumped in that final. He took Griezmann off. He took Giroud off. He took Ousmane Dembele off. He showed that winning is more important than loyalty to players. Then you don't win nothing. These players are going to get on with their career. They're not. You
You
don't
you
get
know
nothing from them. They're not
Southgate would never have taken like Griezmann off. You know that. Never. Never.
But even let's look at the England team. If Sterling did not have his internet at home, if he would Foden be playing in that
Yes.
World Cup? You and me
Yes.
know
Foden
Sterling would
wouldn't
be
be playing.
playing.
Foden wouldn't be playing.
Sterling
You'd have
would
been
still be
Sterling.
playing. And these are the things, we know,
But the thing is, is like if you look at it, I don't know about you, but it just feels like there's a toxic environment building around England, and you could see that if England go on to lose, I don't know, the next couple of international friendlies and that, you can start seeing that pressure being fully. It's already on, but it's going to go to that next level.
I don't know if I agree there's a toxic environment. I don't
A
think
toxic environment, as in I meant, as in from the fan side, be having them out, having him out as an England
I'm
manager.
not sure because at the end of the day, when he said he was conflicted, after as soon as they got knocked out, the people questioning, is it time for him to go? Should we look at Eddie Howe, Graham Potter? I mean, that don't make sense to me. Eddie Howe or Graham Potter are the same for me as Southgate in the sense that they've not proven that they can win.
No.
Or they can have winning mentality. The only time like I said in the last podcast, you should think about changing is if you got a guaranteed winner coming in. Otherwise, stick with Southgate because he's better than what's out there. But when he said he was conflicted, suddenly all those guys who were questioning suddenly changed their mind and started going like, "Oh, we should stick with Gareth." The pundits, the fans, the media suddenly.
I don't know. I'm still on the same boat.
Today, as soon as he's announced it, now you got other pundits now criticizing. But before that, they were too afraid to say it. So I just think now that he's announced it, you're hearing people criticizing it. Jermaine Penner and Jamie O'Hara and these ex-players who don't know nothing about football. But where were they beforehand? They weren't saying nothing because they were sitting on the fence. Ultimately, they were too afraid to say anything.
They didn't know what to say, so I think they're probably using it as a clickbait now, isn't it? Because obviously they want to say the opposite and see drama that. But for me, I've been the same since I've said it. That I think it's a good time for him to move on.
Well, it feels like the team needs an evolution.
Yeah.
Needs new impetus, and you just know that ain't gonna happen for the Euros. Kane, Sterling, some of those guys are still gonna be.
Listen, I don't know about you. I think that England team should be built around your Bellingham, your Saka, your Foden. That's how we should build that team for the future.
I don't know. I mean, I even think as good as Declan Rice is, England need to look for more than that. At the end of the day, the games they struggled was because they couldn't get the ball into midfield. They don't have a dictator on the ball. And when you have Stones and Maguire as your defenders who are afraid to play the ball into midfield, part of that is because they don't trust Declan Rice. Do you get it? So I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot in that team that just it needs a manager with ideas that are actually going to fix the problems of the squad. They were the better team. They didn't win.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly. I mean, on that note, I think that kind of wraps up everything really to be discussed. For those of you watching, please make sure you like, share, subscribe. And as always, please leave your comments and thoughts about what you thought of the World Cup final. Do you agree with the awards? And yeah, is Messi the GOAT? Let us know. Thank you.